Obviously, the big story in the world of sports last night was the conclusion of the NBA playoffs. Congratulations. The NBA finally got everything wrapped up. It just took a shade, just a little bit over 2 months, about 2 months and a week for the NBA to finally, conclude their playoff format. And the Oklahoma City Thunder are the world champions. You've made mention of this. One of the former Oklahoma City Thunder representatives, a guy who took the team or helped take the team to the finals years ago, was Kevin Durant. And it's appropriate that Kevin Durant, on the day that OKC finally did win an NBA championship, finds himself yet again on another franchise and another team, as the trade was completed yesterday. Or it can't be official until, they're able to, do it through the league when the league year starts and all that. But here's the details on the trade that will eventually become official. The Suns are trading Kevin Durant to the Rockets for Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, the number 10 overall pick in this year's draft, and 5 second-round picks. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
But Durant is still a great player. What's interesting is he's also going to be 37 when the league starts and when the season starts coming up.
That's a lot, too.
He's still playing at a very high level. But what's interesting is that he did talk about the deal and the trade getting completed. He was at Fanatics Fest. He spoke with Kay Adams while at Fanatics Fest in New York and had this to say.
When people could just hang your career in a balance like that and just choose what they want to do with your career is a nerve-wracking feeling, but being able to dictate what you want to do and then being with a team that values you, and I'm looking forward to it.
Kevin, people are going to hold on to that dictate what you want to do. Did you have a hand in this?
Most definitely.
How much of it?
I mean, they asked me where I wanted to go. Some of my destinations, I gave it to them, and here we are.
So, Kevin Durant basically used a little bit of stroke to get his way and to get out of Phoenix, and now he's a member of the Houston Rockets. Should be noted, listen, this is an upgrade for Houston, obviously. If you watch them in the postseason this year, they needed a legitimate scorer. It makes a lot of sense for them. They did give up a lot, but they needed that scoring presence. Durant will provide that at least for the next couple of years, you hope, if he stays healthy. And he does have a very good relationship with Ime Udoka, who was with him in Brooklyn and then was also part of Team USA. So Kevin Durant is now a member of the Houston Rockets.
The first question to me is, what happened in Phoenix? That was supposed to be a good destination for KD after leaving the situation in Brooklyn, because Brooklyn was supposed to be a great situation for KD. It just seems like now it's hard for me. It's hard to look at a player who becomes such a journeyman as how do you find a way to value them, based upon their leaving teams as much as he has. And the conversation surrounding KD was as gifted and as talented as he was a player coming into the league. Again, they weren't able to get it done in OKC. And that's a young, spry Kevin Durant, a young, James Harden, a young Westbrook. Like it's like, how do you not get it done? But then he goes to Golden State and to a winner, an already champion, an already winner. And then that's when you saw him shine maybe the most ever in his career, possibly. I mean, you could say OKC just didn't win, but I think that coming out of maybe some of those championship rounds in Golden State, you were able to look at KD as, okay, this is the KD we've been waiting for. This is the KD we've been looking for. But how many times have we seen that outside of Golden State? And OKC, it was kind of a debate. Did he defer to Russell Westbrook at the wrong times during the season. In the playoffs and those championship runs that they were trying to make. Did he defer too much? Then he gets to a team where you got to say, okay, well, he might have been the best player on the team, but it was still nonetheless Steph Curry's team.
Yeah.
After that, I mean, you thought that it would be Brooklyn, that's his team, but it did not work out in Brooklyn. And listen, health had to do with some of it, but it just didn't work out. Now he goes to Phoenix. How can that end? You got Booker, you got some good talent there. That doesn't work. So now he's going to a different team. As brilliant as he's been as a basketball player, I still feel as though his career path has almost in a way been somewhat maybe a tad bit of a contradiction of how brilliant he has been looked at and then revered as an elite player.
You used a term that I think applies here that normally wouldn't apply to a great player like this, journeyman.
Yeah.
Like normally journeymen are, hey, just hanging on, signing 1-year deals, just trying to keep the career going with whoever will give you an opportunity. Kevin Durant's one of the greatest basketball players of all time. Unbelievable talent, unbelievable player. He's got the championships. He's got the finals MVPs. He was the best player on the court in an NBA finals multiple times over. And that was in NBA finals that featured LeBron James and Steph Curry. He was the best player on the floor. And yet his career really is like a journeyman. And he wants it that way. And I don't know if that diminishes his career. I just think it makes his career different from maybe anybody we've seen, to where it's really interesting. Like even LeBron, was in Cleveland. He goes to Miami and then he comes back to Cleveland. Now he's like, you can almost kind of understand that path. Kevin Durant is all over the place. Like he was drafted by Seattle. That's how long he's been in the NBA for.
Yes, yeah.
He was drafted by the Seattle Supersonics.
But I don't count that because that's still OKC.
I know, but it just, I think it adds another wrinkle to a really interesting career, to where he's one of the best players of all time and just unapologetic about the fact that, look, if I want to move around or if I want to go someplace, I'm going to go someplace. He had to wear it from Oklahoma City fans because a lot of people thought what he did was weak. I personally didn't. He chose to go and pair up with Golden State. I didn't have a problem with it. I think a lot of people at the time thought, well, that's kind of a soft move. You don't join the team that just beat you. I don't know who makes those rules, but he wanted to do it. He joined Golden State. It worked, and they probably would have won another title had he not gotten hurt in that series against Toronto. So it's not to, I don't know if it diminishes it. I guess that's, that's subjective to everybody, but you use the term, and I think it's the perfect term that we never hear for a player of this stature, and it's the stature rather, that he's a journeyman, yet an all-time great.
It happens, though. It does happen. I mean, first name that comes to mind when I think of it is Dion. He left Atlanta to go get it in with, the 49ers.
Good call. Yeah.
Then he left the 49ers to go get it in with Dallas. It wasn't like, they might have been missing that piece, and he was that piece. But, I mean, you're talking about teams that were, loaded with talent that Prime was going to. So they were great decisions for him, great moves for him in his career, because he wasn't going to get that Super Bowl in Atlanta. It wasn't going to happen. I mean, they're still trying to get a Super Bowl. So
damn.
Well, they are. I mean, they've made appearances since then, but they haven't won one. So I'm just saying that it wasn't going to happen in Atlanta. It did happen for him in San Fran. It did happen for him in Dallas. Then he went to Washington, and then he went to Baltimore. So I mean, it does happen with some of the greats of all time. And that's even a different sport. I mean, there's plenty of names you could pull out of a hat, for NBA players as well. But I don't question KD's brilliance as a ball player, not one iota. I don't question it. But it does make you wonder, in terms of how many teams he's traveled to and, how it hasn't worked out in any other place. It worked out one time for him. Yeah, I just didn't understand why it didn't have more. It didn't have more takeoff, more launch in Phoenix. Now you start to question yourself, like, is he getting to that place or at that point in his career where you got to start to ask yourself the same question we're talking about when we're speaking on LeBron? Is it the twilight of his career? And what does that look like? How do we feel about KD today as a football player? As a basketball player, I think those questions now become a little bit louder, as it applies to Kevin Durant. I mean, is this his last stop? Will there be, how many more teams will there be? How many more stops will there be when it doesn't work out where you went? So just an interesting question. But he did decide to stay in the West, which was interesting because it's very competitive in the West. So I thought that was pretty interesting that the trade took place. He said he was a part of making that trade take place, and he stays in the West, which is arguably way harder than the East.
What a wild career, man. It's like his career's seen just about everything you could possibly, don't forget, speaking of the Achilles that Tyrese Halliburton suffered and Jason Tatum and Lillard.
Blew his out, too.
Yeah, Durant blew his out, missed an entire season. And people point to him as being an example of, hey, if you suffer the injury, you can still come back and be a great player. Because he's been fantastic ever since he's come back. He's still averaging close to 27 a game. I mean, he can score whenever he wants. He's still that type of player, but he is 37 and, he's got a lot of miles on him, and he's now finding himself on another team. Their championship odds increased or significantly in favor of Houston maybe making a run at this whole thing. So for at least a couple of years, that window's open in Houston. It's another team that adds another layer of talent and competition to the Western Conference, as you pointed out, but it's just, I wonder how he's going to be viewed at the end of this whole thing based on, let's just say he doesn't win a title in Houston. Still a great player, but doesn't win a title in Houston. It's almost as if the championships and the MVPs in the finals are a backdrop to a really complicated journey in his career. I don't know how many people...
But he has it. But he does have it on his resume. And that's critical and that's crucial to how he will be discussed. I mean, he's easily a Hall of Famer. He's easily, like you said, one of the greatest players. He's in the greatest players conversation. Where you put him is up to you, but he is in the conversation. One of the most prolific scorers to ever play the game. So, sports are decentralized anymore. And you know what? The fan in a lot of ways has been decentralized. And I think in some cases you see that it's decentralized with players as well. Some players get in and they get out. And it seems like it's more doable in the NBA because there's a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more back and forth and a little control, in favor of the athlete and the player versus it being the franchise. So it just seems like you can leverage a soft tissue injury into being traded to a different team. Load management your way into another team. You don't get to do that in the NFL. Like they don't handle trades and different things. They don't handle it that way. It's not kind of handled the same way it is in the NBA. So
I mean, he's probably going to end up. He's 8th right now all time in scoring. Probably going to end up in top 5 all time in scoring, depending on how much longer he plays. Like he's an all time great player. Great nickname too, Durantula. Big fan of Durant.
I thought it was Easy Sniper.
Is it? Is it Easy Sniper?
Thought it was Easy Sniper.
Let me see. Oh, so I do have all the
Slim
nicknames
Reaper.
here.
The Slim Reaper.
Do you have any just some game show music so we can rattle off all the nicknames for Kevin Durant? This courtesy of Basketball Reference. Durantula, KD, Slim Reaper, Easy Money Sniper, The Servant,
Dang.
and Green Room. Yeah.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the Green Door in Las Vegas.
Dang.
Look
Okay.
that up on your own time if anybody's interested.